Well, you look wonderful. You're suntanned, you're rested looking.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I had the opportunity of seeing you on television on New Year's Day from California.
Yes, it was fun.
As a Californian, I should have been there, but I was in Florida watching the parade.
The parade is very exciting, isn't it?
Oh,
I know you've been there many times.
Yes.
You've been the Grand Marshal twice.
Yes, I've been the Grand Marshal, but more important, just to be there and see those magnificent floats. You know, many people don't realize that all of those floats have nothing but flowers on them. There's no paper.
That's part of the requirements. There cannot be anything but flowers from stem to stern. The only thing that can be untouched is the little hook that you pull the float with in the front. I want to say something about this gentleman. Most people in political life send people ahead of time when they're going to make an appearance on a television show with suggested questions and ask that you say certain things and not ask certain questions. Mr. Nixon, before airtime today, said, "I'm very pleased at the fact that I don't know what you're going to ask me, and I want you to feel free to just ask anything that you care to ask. I won't ask you how old you are, but I will ask you how old you were when you entered politics."
Well, I entered politics, Mike, when I was 32 years of age. That was right after the war. I came back from the war and decided that at that time, after consulting with my wife, that I might run for Congress. That was the first office I ran for.
Mm-hmm.
Incidentally, with regard to all these questions, though, I have listened to your show from time to time, and I know that you're unpredictable, so I wasn't going to make any requests as to what questions you would ask.
I see. Have you ever regretted entering politics at such an early age?
No. Politics, of course, is a great battle. All of life is a great battle.
Indeed.
I was in your office prior to this time, and I noticed all those ratings and how you've come up 25% in the last year, and I can imagine that you and your colleagues live and die by ratings. And take our friends here, Sandler and Young, of course, they're hot now, as I understand it. And,
yes. You picked up some of that show business terminology, too, haven't you?
You're reading Variety.
Yes. You know, politics more and more is becoming show business, I find.
Oh, I was going to bring that up a little later. As long...
In fact, we may be looking at 3 potential candidates right here.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Your life is the only thing I know of that's tougher than this business, yes. Really. Would you advise other young men to pursue a political career?
By all means, yes. I'm often asked that question by college students, and college students, despite all we hear about the hippies and the rest, this generation is a very idealistic generation. The very fact that they are parading and demonstrating about all subjects from civil rights to Vietnam or what have you indicates a deep involvement. Just an aside on that point, I would have to admit that the college students of today are much more informed on the great issues of the world and the issues of the country. I'd say that's true of high school students, too.
Yes.
Than my generation was. And my generation was the generation of the 30s. We were so absorbed with just learning enough so that we could earn enough to make a living that we had very little understanding or interest in the problems of the world. But the college students of today and the high school students, probably because they live in a seller's market where most of them, when they get out, they're going to be able to get jobs, and they know that. They're interested in problems far beyond simply the business of earning a living. And this makes them an extremely vital group. Now, we've digressed from the question, why should they enter politics in one form or another? They can't all run for office, and they can't all be president. I found that out. But on the other hand, when we look at the United States and the world today, in this last third of the century, what happens here will determine whether peace and freedom survives in the world. Whether it survives in Belgium, for example, will depend upon the leadership of the United States. Whether it survives in Britain or France. There's no other nation in the world that has the power that the United States has, and how we use that power will be determined by the kind of leadership that comes from the American people. In this country, see, it doesn't depend just simply on our president. or on one man, on a de Gaulle, for example. The greatness of America is that our leadership must come from the people generally, and here's where all of us can help to participate. We may think that our participation really doesn't matter too much, but I would urge all of our young people who have an opportunity to get in politics, full-time or part-time, not to miss it. It's a vitally important part of life.
You brought up, you said how we use that power. Are we using that power correctly right now, do you?
America, its power, well, I could be quite critical, of course, from a partisan standpoint of some of our problems around the world. It is disturbing to find that we live in a period when the President of the United States, and this is the first time this has happened in our history, can't travel to any major country abroad without fear of a hostile demonstration. And yet, we must realize that that is one of the necessary adjuncts of power. Those who have power are seldom popular. And the important thing in the world is for us to be respected, not simply to be popular. As far as our power is concerned, I would suggest that leaving out the problem of Vietnam, where reasonable men can differ as to whether we should be there and what we should do to bring the war to a successful conclusion, my main concern at the present time is to develop policies in the long range that will avoid more Vietnams, so that the United States, with 200 million people, doesn't carry the burden of stopping communist aggression for the 2 billion people that live in the non-communist world. That doesn't make sense. We can help furnish the arms and we can furnish the economic power, but when it comes to the men, certainly we need to spread that burden more generally.
Yes.
So that if something happens in Latin America or Africa or Asia again, let's make sure that we have new preventive diplomacy so that the United States doesn't carry the major share of the load as we're carrying it in Vietnam today.
President de Gaulle of France has recently taken an anti-U.S. posture. Now, how should we react to this?
Well, react in a way that doesn't, in effect, cut off our nose to spite our face. President de Gaulle is a difficult man, but to his credit, let us recognize that he is a very great man, has been a great man for France and for the free world. At the present time, I think he couldn't be more wrong in terms of his blocking the united Europe, in terms of his meddling in the Mideast, where he has sided with the forces of aggression and those that are stirring up trouble, and also in his attitude toward the United States and Vietnam, where it seems to me that he doesn't want the United States to succeed where the French have failed. But on the other hand, I think we must realize that de Gaulle is simply one man, the current leader of France. He is not France, although he may say or think he is from time to time.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think that most of the French people agree with what he does now. Because whatever I hear, us Belgians being neighbors, we completely disagree. I would say like 95% of the people right away. And I doubt very much if he has 20% of the French with him right now.
Is that right? But is this a danger signal that the rest of the world is becoming anti-American?
Well, the rest of the world is becoming anti-American in a rather ironic way. You travel around the world, there will be demonstrations, particularly among the young people.
You were in on some of those.
That's right. But there will be demonstrations in this country, too, among young people. It's very difficult for the president to travel in the United States without fear of a demonstration. But on the other hand, I would point out, and this we must recognize, that the traffic in the world is all one way. I find very few of our demonstrators that want to leave the United States and go live somewhere else. And it's very hard to find many people living in other parts of the world, if they're thinking of moving, who want to move to the Soviet Union rather than the United States.
None. That's true.
And so I think this is something to bear in mind. This doesn't mean that the United States is perfect. It doesn't mean that we haven't made a great deal of mistakes and we'll make some more. But this country today offers the greatest opportunity of any country in the world for young and old, for all races, for all religions. And this we must never forget. What we want to do what we must do, of course, is to improve on this, and that's what we're all trying to do. We're terribly concerned about this terrible division in the United States between the races. But the very fact that we are concerned means we're going to do something about it, something effective. And we mustn't allow the fact that we have division, that there are areas of prejudice and discrimination, we mustn't allow that to obscure the total picture of a great country entering the last third of this century with peace and freedom riding on what we do. Let's meet that challenge. Let me just say one other thing. We talked earlier about young people entering politics. Some of them say they're alienated. You know, you hear that word.
Yes.
And some of them say that there's no sense of purpose. I can only say that a young person is very fortunate to be born in the United States today. He's very fortunate to have the opportunity to live in this country, because here he can contribute to his own future. People born in other parts of the world, they have nothing to say about it. I think that never have a people had a greater reason for providing leadership than the people of the United States have today. And with this in mind, if we can just put more of the positive emphasis on our country's strengths and do everything that we can to remove its weaknesses, then I think the United States will meet its responsibility of providing the leadership, which means peace and freedom for the world.
Can you stay a bit longer, Mr. Nixon?
Oh, sure.
We'll be right back. Right after these messages.